Hello guys, welcome. Welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Teachings. Alright guys, closing down the 4th of July week. Very solid week, very solid day today. Another day of bullish trend day. A lot of our setups kind of worked and we will talk about them. Before I start, just a quick introduction to anybody who's new to my community, who's new to my Twitter or new to my YouTube. All these trades recaps and all these teachings are from all the trades that I share on Twitter, I share on YouTube, or any trades we are taking in our community. We do not trade random, we trade repeatable setup, repeatable system. System is how you trade, setup is what you trade, and our repeatable consistent system is being used by thousands of traders across the world to trade consistently. Every morning, me and my team, we are up, we create a game plan for our community to trade, whether it's a swing trade, day trade, or investment idea, we have a plan. So this was a plan for today. As you see, it was not a lot of plays today, but there was a lot of focus on the Bitcoin, MSTR coin, Mara. Macy's was also on our watch list. And then there was DDOG, DKNG, PNW, ARM, MNDY. So this was our game plan today that is shared with the community 20 minutes before the market open. Additionally, we also share what we call as our day 2, day 3 setups. This is a strategy that I have invented. Thousands of traders use this strategy. I did a free webinar on this as well. Today, DELL, STZ, Lily, there were few good setups that from this strategy. We will recap them as well. In addition to that, we also share daily levels on SPY, QQQ, IWM, Netflix, Amazon, AMD, Meta, Tesla, so that the traders can take these levels and trade on their own using these levels and Ripster EMA clouds. So we'll see how this level panned out. Specifically, we will recap these levels that we traded on Meta, how these levels panned out. So we will recap that as well. In addition to that, every day we have our crypto watch, coin, MSTR, all these setups to long, and we did long today because there was a lot of opportunity to long all the Bitcoin setups. So we'll talk about that in detail. Great day for the community today. Only 70% of the community was green yet again. Only 14% were red. So very proud of that. A lot of new members joining the community. If you want to join, we have 4th of July coming in, a 4th of July promo going on. A lot of tools, a lot of value. We provide a lot of education. Do not come for alerts, but you can definitely join to learn the consistent trading system that we use. Anyways, that was introduction. Let's start with our first play. All right, guys, the first play we're going to start with is Tesla, right? So if you have been watching my previous videos, my YouTube recaps and all the trades, we have been killing Tesla, right? So we can't keep running, right? So there's always going to be a day of a pullback, day of a day where we go, we go back to decent retest of a breakout. So anyways, so let's look at Tesla. So what was the plan with Tesla? We came ready with the Tesla. So you see, I'm just going to quickly look in a Tesla daily chart and then try to explain it to you guys. So if I look at, you see that how Tesla has been, breaking out. It's still, we'll talk about what happened intraday, but let's see what happened at the open, right? So we have been running from since I have been talking about the breakout, our swing breakout, this weekly breakout. We have been going. So if you saw my Wednesday video, I discussed the 250 level as well. So let's see what happened at open. So if I go back and see what were my levels, my levels on Tesla there was a level here, right here at 248.35 and then 250. So this was my line in the sand level, and then there was a level right here, 250. So these two levels were important today for Tesla, right? So, and I knew that there's going to be a decent pullback. It doesn't look like much. If I go to 3-minute, I can show you that how big the pullback was, right? That was from 250 to 242. That was $8 pullback. The puts went from $1 to $3, even more actually, some of them. So anyways, as soon as the market opened, I actually had told everyone before the market opened that Tesla, high focus, 250, 246, two levels of the interest. When I saw it trying to push and reject this candle, and that's when I was, short. So I told everybody short. Everybody knew that I'm going to short it if 250 breaks down. So as soon as 250 I see the rejections, I short it right away. 245 is the first target I gave everyone. 242 is the second target I gave everyone. I personally was trading the 245 puts, and and that's it. We started to fade as soon as the market opened. Even if you were a little late, it's remember this is an amateur move. This was an amateur move trade, so you need to know. My traders know the system. They know what's a good entry. The good entry is closer to 250, closer to the clouds. Anyways, so we were fading, and we faded. We faded to 242, and we faded nicely. I was in profit. I added 240 lotos as well with the profit, expecting another fade, but when it didn't fade, it held. Then I closed my lotos. It was not no use because I know the buyer came back. So this was our morning trade. After that, I really didn't touch it. So going back to the 10 minutes on Tesla again, so we can see that this was a morning trade, right? This was an amateur move trade, and that's what we were quick in and quick out. And there was another short again. You see how Tesla pushed to 250 again, and then again rejected. So you could scalp that again, but then it makes a higher lows. Then you know it's gonna be waste of time rest of the day. So you get out, and then but again it rejected 250 again. So there was another short scalp again, but the point is it's not really a big trend. It's still, this is what I discussed. This was discussing in the community. When the price is in between the morning levels, morning highs, morning lows, it's just going to be up and down. You see, right? The same. Why is it bouncing at the same spot? Because it's a support. It was a buyer here, and the buyer was still there. So it was just in the range 250, 244. So there was no trade after that. The morning short, and let's just leave it alone. But looking at the big picture, Tesla is definitely still bullish, right? The way it's holding up, I don't know. We might really break out 253, make one more big push before any pullbacks, right? Look at this weekly candle. Tesla has not made such a weekly candle since October of 2021. This is one of the biggest weekly candles we have seen in last 3 years. So and week is over, so next week is a new weekly candle. So we'll see, right? We can always have a candle like that which rejects here, chops around, you see, in this area, and then we pull back. I mean, it's normal, right? We have to pull back and we have to reset the normal trend. Nothing bad about a pullback, right? So but anyways, it was definitely more focused on the short side today because the clouds were breaking down than the long side. Now if on Monday we hold this 250 again, then we will long it. If we break 250, then the bias will be short side, and we will just trade like how we traded today, right? It could have faded all the way to 240, 238, all day fade, but no, market is super strong, market is super bullish. So we just took what market gave us, right? The morning trades. You can see my timestamp guidance here, how I was short in the open, and then we were because I'm on the voice, a lot of my guidance is on the voice. You don't see it here, but yeah, that was a good trade at the open. Tesla short. Let's go to the next one. All right, now I'm going to discuss a little bit about MSTR and Bitcoin and all those names. So as you guys might have seen in the morning, Bitcoin was gapping up, right? Bitcoin had a big run, big breakout. I have talked about this Bitcoin breakout a lot in recently, not recently, but I was, when we broke out of this area, and I alerted this on my Twitter, and it went all the way. There's a complete thread on this timestamped guidance on this breakout. You can go and see that. So anyways, so Bitcoin was been running crazy, right? So Bitcoin was, anyways, the point is that we were talking about is the Bitcoin was gapping down today. So it was a huge gap down. If you see, it's came back from 70,000 all the way to 56, the original support here, and then there's a support at 53,000. So Bitcoin came right back. So we had it on our watch list. Let's go to the game plan. You see MSTR, coin, Mara, everything was on our watch list. The reason being, we wanted to be there if Bitcoin bounces, not the short side, because we are already extended and Bitcoin is close to the support. So I was not really expecting Bitcoin, flush 50,000, but of course I wanted to see if we bounce, then I'm going to trade long. So you see, everything is on our watch list: MSTR, coin, Mara, coin on watch for B minus curl. So it was on our plan. And of course, every day I share my crypto setups every day with the community. So we had all those levels set: MSTR 1273, coin to 221, another MSTR level was 1250. So we had all those levels ready, and we were ready to nail these setups. So what happens, right? So let's look at what happens. So when market opens, I see little weakness. You see this level. What was the MSTR level? It was 1250, right? This area. So it was rejecting. At that time, I was not interested. Not interested, right? But coin was kind of holding up, so was definitely interested there. You can see the chart, right? What's the setup? I mean, these are Ripster EMA clouds, and we long when Ripster EMA cloud tells us to long, right here. So what happens, right? So in the morning I tell coin heavy, no longs. MSTR we will watch for 512 calls. We still didn't do anything, but then Bitcoin starts to turn bullish. Bitcoin starts to turn bullish right here. This right here, Bitcoin's trying to push over this area. Try, reject, reclaim 512 clouds, and then Bitcoin breaks out. And when then Bitcoin breaks out, that's when I tell everybody we gonna long it. I'm on the voice, already provided the pivot levels, where to long. Clouds are telling us. My community traders already know, because our system, they already know when to long it. I don't even have to tell them, because our long was right here. And I was on the voice. We said we long it. You see here, 1236, 3450 cloud test, and it breaks through. It breaks through right away. I told everybody long both coin and MSTR. If I show you on the on Twitter, I even Twitter followers, I tweeted out when the Bitcoin was turning bullish. So let me see if I can show you guys that. So let's see, right? So okay, here you go. So you see that I tweeted out that Bitcoin 10-minute is bullish cloud curl right here. And after that, Bitcoin kept running, right? So that was a good, that was a timely alert. Anyway, so the point is we want to long Bitcoin, coin, MSTR, and then we want to long Mara, all those setups. I didn't long Mara because I don't care. Mara is such a small range. I like MSTR and coin. Those are the two plays which are our focus. And then we were long, and look at MSTR. My tar, 1250 lotos went from like $5 to $30, 300-400%. My targets were 1270, then 1280. My final target was 1300, and we are actually swinging some. So we are swinging some of the coin and MSTR. If Bitcoin keeps running, we're going to make some nice little money when we gap up. So this was all the MSTR time-stamped alerts. I told everybody to long it. You can see here, and a lot of my alerts were on the voice. And it's not about the alerts. We trade the system. So it's my guidance that I tell everybody and guide everybody through those trades. If you want to see the coin, and then you can see I told everybody to long those coin 218 and 220 target. 215 calls were 100%. Then 222 area was the next target. 215 calls were 400%. And then 223 was my final target. And even we met that target. And that's why we are leaving some profits in for swing. So coin and MSTR, you can see all the time stamped. Huge win for the community. I mean, literally huge win for the community. Everybody was trading these setups. If I show you in the community, everybody was on coin. Crazy 100%. Big Papa was 100%. Krazik has 215 entry. He was doing good on the shares. NKS did 100%. Everybody was literally doing great, because we were ready, not because of the alerts or something, because we were ready for this opportunity. We knew Bitcoin is gapping up. We had a pre-market plan. We had a pre-market plan. We had our levels defined. We were ready for this. And when that curl happened, we executed. So huge day for community. Bitcoin, MSTR, coin, Mara, huge home run winners for community today. So just need to be ready. That's why. All right, guys. Next one we're gonna look at it is AVGO. So what was the AVGO doing today? So let's see at AVGO. Let's look at AVGO. So not all the semiconductors were strong today. NVIDIA was weak, AVGO was weak. So I told everybody, no long in NVIDIA, no long in AVGO, short scalps, only short scalps. And when you short here, because there's a gap, you see the rejections, you see the cloud break, you short here, you see the cloud rejections, you short more, you ride the puts all the way down to 1700. So 1700 lotos were really nice today. So you can see my timestamp guidance, short scalps. And not only that, I already had given the levels for NVIDIA and AVGO here, 1740, 1728, and once those levels break, 1740, you short it and just ride the short. And there was no covers that you were not supposed to cover AVGO all day. 1715 was my first target. We met 1715, and by end of the day we even met our 1700 target. So that was really nice trade on AVGO short winner for us. You can see the timestamp comments there. All right, let's talk about NVIDIA. I mean, NVIDIA today, even though I didn't personally short it because but there was no long in NVIDIA as well, right? No long. I told everybody no long. Do not short, do not long, just don't do anything. There was yes, of course it curled over 512s in the mid of the day, but I was not interested. Why? Because just like I told you earlier, made a high, made a low, and whole day it was in that range. When this happens, it's not going to be a huge big trade. Maybe you can scalp it. It's a waste of time trade. This is the waste of time trade when it's stuck in this range. Yes, we will watch it Monday, but for today there was no trade. And the same example I showed you in Tesla, that once we are in that tight range, there's not really a trade. It's a waste of time because it's stuck in a range for whole day. So that's why I didn't do anything, right? Similarly, if I go to tell you about SMCI, and SMCI was a short today. So if we talk about SMCI also, I did not tell anybody today to trade SMCI because you see here, right? You have to find the relative strength. SMCI was not doing anything. Up, down, up, down. Yeah, it's faded. You could short it, but I would short it once it break this area. But market was bullish, right? The semiconductors were not really strong. The whole sector was not really strong, but it was not really selling either. So even SMCI was, why sit on hands as well? Why no trade? That's the reason. So you could short it. I mean, you could definitely short it 512s, but I'm just trying to show you why I didn't touch NVIDIA, and why we don't really need to spend too much time on Tesla after the morning trade. SMCI, yes, you could short it, but you see that what everything else is doing in the sector. What's ARM doing? What is, and we'll talk about those big winners on ARM and AMD next, because you have to analyze all the stocks and see which is the best setup that you really want to trade. And these SMCIs, NVIDIA was not the best setups today to trade. All right, let's talk about AMD now. Okay, so AMD. So what was happening was AMD. AMD was this nice breakout pattern that had developed. I had shared this in our community, as well as I had shared it in you see here, weekly hammer. So you see the weekly hammer forming. This is what I shared on Tuesday on AMD. So this was the breakout setup I was waiting on. And not only that, let me show you something else as well. If I go on AMD intraday chart, you see that how AMD's broke out over the daily 30 and 20, the daily 50 EMA, and it has been running since. That's when you swing it. So these are the Ripster multi-time frame clouds, and they give you when the intraday candles are crossing over daily 50 EMAs or 20 EMAs. I'll do a separate video on this, but I just want to see the daily clouds. And you see how AMD was bullish since then. And then there's a consolidation day yesterday, or the day the prior trading session. So AMD today was long. So I just showed you the what I alerted on Tuesday. Let me go back and just show you again on Twitter. All right, so let me show you here. So what was this, right? So this was the setup that I shared on AMD on July 2nd. that we are setting up. No, I don't really need an indicator to trade this. I know when this breaks out, it'll be a nice long. And what happens? We start to break out today out of that weekly, channel, or you can call it, a breakout setup, and then we push higher. So that's a big picture view, right? That's a big picture view. So you see that that's a big picture view on the AMD for our long. Now, if let's see, we'll see how we traded intraday. So when I saw that strength, already most of the traders in my community know that why we are trading AMD, why we are long on AMD, because of that particular setup, and it was stronger than the rest of the sector. So we have these levels on AMD from the morning: 165.50, 166.82. So once we were breaking out of those levels, that's where you long. Right here you long it. If you miss that long, then you trade this 10 a.m. flag repeatable setup. So that's what I alerted everybody: the flag breakout 170 target. Then there was a seller at 170. Once that 170 seller cleared, then my next target was 170 160, and then my next target was 172 20, and then my next target was 174. See what I'm saying here? 172 20 next target, and then 174. Make sure you're scaling out your profits, and then we may hit our 174 target as well. Look how close we hit our 174 target, right on there. So you long here, stream clouds, you see the daily weekly setup, and you trade the flag long, or you trade the opening long, whatever you want to trade. Everything is provided there in the community. Everybody nailed AMD. Really proud of the traders today in the community. They just killed AMD today. All day AMD was long. You can see how everybody was trading AMD. Once that 170 seller was cleared, we ran all the way to 173 and 174. The option traders really made money. Good for the shares. There's almost $8-9 per share profit, and the options went 200-300%. Beautiful trade AMD today in the community. So next one we're going to talk about is ARM. So why was ARM? What was going on with ARM? So I'll show you that. If I go back to my pre-market game plan, ARM was a daily flag and it was a resistance. This was one of our team members, we know, he told me about the setup, and I added it into our watch list. And we always have ARM every day actually on our watch list. ARM is always there. 172 was our resistance pivot today on ARM. So let's see what was happening with ARM here. So if you go on the daily chart on ARM, let's see here, you see this was the setup. This was a breakout flag setup. That's why I mentioned it on daily flag at a resistance. So we were watching that breakout. You see this, right? Downtrend line crossing through 3 candles, and that was it, right? And I was focused on other trades, but traders just watch the levels. Once it broke out of this level, ARM, it breaks out of this level right here. You either you long there or you wait for this cloud pullback. You see we pulled back right into Ripster 3450 clouds. You long here, you wait for the pullback, and that's a good trade. And the rest of it was just follow the clouds all day. So ARM was a beautiful trade every day, all day for us. Traders really nailed ARM in the community. Everybody, you see that they were on ARM today. You can see how everybody was just killing it in ARM. Honit did 150% on ARM. So yeah, just showing you the another setup. You see SMCI and NVDA were not that strong, but AMD, ARM, they were strong. AVGO was not strong, but ARM was strong, because even in between a sector, some stocks will be stronger, and that's where you have to focus, and that's where we focused. Next, let's look at Microsoft, right? I mean, I will go in detail with the other tickers, but I just want to talk about Microsoft. Our resistance pivots were 462 and 463. I was on the voice. Once the resistance pivots are gone, that's it. It's a long right here. Over Ripster clouds, over our resistance pivots, all day strength. And this goes back to, we'll talk about SPY and QQQ, how the SPY and QQQ was strong, hence the market was bullish, and hence you could trade all these setups. I will go in detail on about that in the end. Let's look at another setup from the game plan. MNDY, it was on the watch for breakout. 245 was our breakout level. and I gave that in the pre-market. Once the 245 was gone, that's it. It ran to 248.50s. Beautiful trade with the game plan. I personally didn't trade it, but it's still ready for much more bigger breakout. But you can see MNDY, easy setup from the game plan. I give the game plan 20 minutes prior to the market open. Beautiful trade. All right, guys, I'm going to talk about few day 2, day 3 setups. I'm going to talk about DELL, STZ, and Lily. Maybe we can discuss Snow as well, but let's focus on those three. So STZ had an earnings on the prior trading day, and today it turned bullish, and that's the crux of our day 2, day 3 setups, right? And I did a free webinar. Hopefully you guys watched it. If you want to learn them, I have a webinar in the community. You can learn these setups. But you see, our system told us go long over 250, go long over right over there, and it was all day bullish trend. There was a nice cup here to long. This is a repeatable setup that I teach. So STZ was also a nice long winner. And now let's go to Lily, right? Again, Lily was again one of our setups that I gave in the pre-market over 904, 900. It was a simple long. It's a 900 psychological trade. 900 psychological all day long on Lily. There was a Lotus really went crazy. There was like a $10 move on Lily long. A lot of traders were trading Lily. It was definitely a great setup today for everyone on Lily as well. So another one that we want to talk about is DELL. So now DELL was a day 2, day 3 short. It's that easy and it's that simple when you are trading the system. You see, the DELL was a day 2, day 3 short because it never reclaimed the bullish clouds. And what were our levels? Our levels on DELL were 139.97, 143. So that was our top day 1, day 3 play. And once those levels gave up, even the 20 EMA on daily, it was all day fade. You could literally fade like $3-4 per share on DELL. So these are the day 2, day 3 setups, guys. Just wanted to discuss how we were like so green today, because most of our setups are repeatable, and we just repeat them and they work. So let's look at Macy's now. Let's see what Macy's was doing. So Macy's was also on our watch list. Breakout over 1953, 1910 support, 1955. This was the news. You can pause it and read it and see. And Macy was just a long. It's breaking out over 950. You take it long. Your stops at 1930. It's a $1 per share winner. So you can just look at the game plan. So I mean, market was so bullish. Everything was working today. Beautiful trade in the community on Macy's, especially for small accounts. All right, let's now talk about Meta. So Meta was our long all day. Meta daily chart was also, it was an all-time high breakout. So you can see that Meta is it's an A+ setup because it's breaking all-time high. There's no resistance up top, and it's an A+ long setup. We know there's Elon Musk had a news as well in the pre-market. Oh, sorry, on the 4th of July. Whatever he did, I'll show you that in a minute. But anyways, our pivots on Meta were right here, 513.45, 516.88. When I saw that strength, I told everybody long over our pivots breakout. I mean, everybody should already be long by the time I told everyone long over our pivots breakout. And a lot of our traders were on top of it, right? Huss, Rishi, they were right on top of it, right at open, because it was an A+ setup. There was not really any resistance on the top, and of course there was this Musk news, and it was all about the targets. The targets I gave was 535s, then my next target was 540. We met all the targets that I gave, 535s, 540. You could literally buy Meta anywhere and make some money on the Lotos. And then there was this flag on Meta as well. This is our midday. So how do you know that it's not going to sell off? Because it's not breaking the 512 Ripster EMA clouds. It's holding the 512 Ripster EMA clouds. You can add here, use this candle as your risk and trade long all day, rest of the day. You can still make, from this bounce where Meta was holding up, you could still make more money from this move from 530s. Put your stops right here, 528.50s, all the way to 538, 540s, right? So that was a beautiful trade, beautiful setup. And don't forget this flag setup. The similar flag setup also happened in coin right here. I talked about it as well. So these are midday flag setups, guys. Do not forget about them. It was not a short, it was still a long. When you see these kind of chart patterns, this is your midday long. I covered this in my repeatable setup midday webinar as well, where you think it's already has made a move and maybe you no meat left, but that's not really true. You can actually make money on these setups. Wait for this contraction chart patterns and get long, put your stops here, trade that, right? So it met for 550 target as well. Even the 540s lotos went from like 10 cents to 75 cents. Beautiful trade, guys. Very proud of everyone today who nailed meta today in the community. Let's go to the next one. All right, I'm going to wrap up. No, maybe I think I'm going to talk about 3 stocks. Apple, look carefully here. Okay, Apple, what do you see? Breakout, right? Look here. Google, daily chart, what do you see? Breakout. QQQ, look here, what did you see? Breakout. Now I will show you before, right? And I mean, I can show you on the Twitter. I also gave this idea on the Twitter, because what I'm trying to teach you guys is to identify these chart patterns, right? Yourself, identify these chart patterns yourself. Okay, so okay, here you go. Google, before, this was on Tuesday, right? Apple, this was on Tuesday before the breakout. Qs, this was on Tuesday before the breakout. Qs actually even broke out on Wednesday and gave a nice trades and longs, profitable trades for us. But these are the setups we need to identify. We think yes, market is too high, but these are the technicals which are working. This is what let me show you. So when I gave these setups on Tuesday, what did I say? I said setups galore going into 4th of July. All our range breakout setup. It's so bullish, it's scary, right? So this was what I shared on Tuesday, and this was Apple, this was Google. Amazon is still working out on its way, but you can see what happened today. Before, after, right? You know how these setups are working. And we were long, most of traders were long on Apple today. I was long on Google, and of course we'll talk about QQQs, because our intraday, even our pre-market planning on Apple 222s, Google was 187, 190s. They were breaking out. They were simply breakout setups that you could trade. These were simply a breakout trades, right? Google, and I was on voice all day guidance on all these setups, and provided the community the setups before even if that happened. I just want you guys to learn these setups. I've been showing these setups for years. You can find these breakouts before they happen, and then you can come in and nail them. Literally the Google lotos went crazy. Literally the Apple lotos went crazy. So I just showed you before and after on all these setups. Make sure you learn them, go back. This is a crazy bullish market, and these breakouts, they are not always, we don't get them all the time. Now we are getting this follow through on these breakouts. It's just beautiful, right? The technical, you just don't need anything. You can just trade with technicals. Literally, even if you're trading shares, you can risk $1,000 and you can make $5,000. That's how the market is right now. Even on the options, you risk 2,000, you can make 6,000-7,000. Any of these trades that we are taking in the community, right? So it's very important to learn these and master these, and it will only come to you if you review hundreds of charts. How did I know to post these setups on Tuesday? How did I know? Right? I just knew, because it's from my experience. So that's what I keep telling you guys, to make sure you learn these setups. Find the confidence in watching the big picture setups, right? The big picture setups, so that you can nail them yourself. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, now I'm going to talk about SPY, and it's the same thing, guys. A SPY, this was the breakout that I gave on SPY, like on Wednesday as well, right? This breakout setup was there on SPY as well, and I also showed you the QQs. Now let's go to intraday guidance. So I told everyone to scalp QQQ long. You can see my timestamp guidance here. Let's see if I can show you guys. Since morning, I told everybody to scalp the QQs long because I know we are going to break out here. If you see here, right here on Qs, right? Qs broke out right away. I can remove the drawings here. You see that we broke out. Qs was much stronger than SPY. We broke out right away over our pre-market highs, over all our levels that we had. These are resistance pivots. You can pause the screen and check them out. And we broke out all of them. And SPY was little kind of choppy, but even SPY did not break down under the clouds. Look at this. SPY pulls back, tests the clouds. SPY pulled back, test the clouds. So I can show you here like, QQQs. So I told everybody to scalp long QQQs when I saw this breakout over the pre-market highs on Qs. So that's where I told everybody to scalp long, and then it was all about the targets. We just have to ride as long as the clouds hold. That's it, guys, because we know that bigger picture is breaking out, 10-minute is holding up. It's a setup to stay long and not cut. Just hold it long. You see the bigger picture is breaking out. So yes, that was it, guys. Repeatable setup. No, nothing crazy. Huge week for the community. Huge week for all the traders. Huge day for the community as well. Hopefully you guys learned a lot from today. This is crazy bullish market. We are going to get one big day for sure. But till then, we stay long. We use our system to risk and make money with defined risk. We lose small, we make more. That's our motto. Hopefully you guys learned a lot. I'll see you guys Monday. Have a great weekend, great Saturday, great Sunday, and make sure to join the community. We have our July 4 promo going on. Come for education, come for guidance, and come for the tools we provide. Do not come for the alerts. All right, take care. See ya. Bye bye.